in the intro that these ideas are powerful. But first, what is an arpeggio? Let's start there. If I make an E7 chord and I strum it, I'm playing an E7 chord. Now if I take that same chord and play the notes one at a time, I'm playing an arpeggio. So arpeggio is just taking a chord and separating the notes, pulling them apart. That's also why fingerpicking is referred to as an arpeggio, because you're taking the chord and you're playing the notes separate as opposed to all at the same time. So tabs up and let's look at the first arpeggio basic before we get advanced so we can see what one looks and feels like. Now we're going to play the root note, E. Chords are made up of intervals. Knowing intervals is essentially how you build all chords, because all chords have a recipe. An E7 chord is what's called a 7 chord, and its recipe is 4 notes, root note, third, fifth, flat 7. So you take your root, E note, and you take your third, which is your G sharp, fifth, which is B note, and your D, which is your flat 7. And those 4 notes create your E7 arpeggio. Now you can play those notes in any order on the fretboard you want, anywhere on the fretboard that you want. You don't have to play them in order. You can skip notes, you can repeat notes, you can play this E, or you can play this E. You can play this G sharp, or this G sharp. Really the only limitation is your creativity. Our first arpeggio, okay? Now tabs up on the screen, you get these tabs 2 ways. You can print them out by becoming a Patreon. That will get you tabs for all of our guitar lessons. Links up here in the notes. You can also buy just this particular tab through my website, 10thumbspro.com, and that's linked in the description. So we're going to start off 6th fret of the D string. Now, this is also, you'll see the intervals above each one. This is the 3rd interval. We go 6 with our ring finger, 4th fret of the G string with my index finger. And note what interval is? 5th. So we start off. So first beat, slide up to the 6th fret with your ring finger. I'm on the D string, and I slide from the 4th, but you can slide from anywhere that you want. All right, I think from the 4th is nice and easy. Then I get my index finger on the 4th fret of the G string. Sorry for the brain fart. Now, above the top of these tabs, I have all the intervals listed. It's good to kind of get these under your fingers and then maybe start to pay attention to the intervals. You can play these without knowing them, but knowing them will help you build your own arpeggios later. So 6-4. Then we're going to do a triplet pinky, 7th fret of the same string, ring finger 6th back on the D string, index to the 4th fret of the D string. G string, sorry. So we get 1 and 2 pull up, back to 6, and then back to 4. From there, let that ring out for the rest of the measure. 1 and 2 pull up, 3 and 4. And we're gonna, for the second measure, you're gonna play from this 4th fret open G string, and then hammer on the 1st fret on the offbeat. 1 and open high E. And I like an up strum there because I'm going way back up to the D string after that. I'm going to go O, hammer 1, open E, 2nd fret of the D string. Then I'm going to play that same string open, right back to 2, and then my middle finger is going to roll over to the 2nd fret of the A string. So just the second measure would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. The whole lick, nice and slow. 1 and 2, pola, 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Now, before we move on to the next lick, you should have noticed that this G is not our G sharp. It's not our third interval. It's a flat third interval. That note is in our blues scale. So if you were paying attention, you might have noticed that we played a G note in there. It is the first beat of the second measure, and it's a flat third. Flat third is not in our chord. Flat third is what makes an E minor instead of an E major. But that flat third is in the E blues scale. And it's very common in blues to mix that note from the scale with the arpeggios. So that's what we did there. You can also do this in a non-blues context. It will sound bluesy, but it is a very cool sound. One last note with that though, if you do use that flat third, make sure that you're going into the third note right after that. Don't play it and then come back to it. It's always 3 to the 3. It's always flat third to the full third. These licks sound great over measures 3 and 4 in the blues. So it's also good to practice them by playing a 2-measure shuffle and then playing the lick. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, and then from there you would go to measures 5 and 6, but this isn't a mixing chord and lick lesson. This is just an arpeggio lesson, but I wanted to show you how that works. All right, lick number 2. Also, the last interval that we used was the B note. Don't feel like you need to finish your lick on the E note. Experiment with finishing your arpeggios on other intervals. The only time it has to be the E note is if you were to finish a solo or finish the song and you want it to sound complete. All right, jumping into the second one. If you dig what we're doing here, I do one-on-one lessons. You can email me. My email's in the description, 10thumbsproductions@gmail.com. We can set up some time for some one-on-one lessons as well. All right. Lick number 2. We're going to start off and we're going to slide 3 to 5 with our ring finger. We're sliding into our root note, into our E note. Then we're going to play open B string, index finger, 3rd fret. That's pretty cool because that is 3 of the 4 notes in our chord right there. Root, flat 7, 5th. Then we're going to drop down middle finger to the 4th fret of the G string. And from there, 3rd and 5th fret. If you recognize this, this is from the extension of our pentatonic scale. So we're kind of checking out familiar territory here. 4, 3, 5, 3rd fret of the high E string. And again, this is our flat 3rd note. So we want to get up to the 4th fret, G sharp, which is the note in our chord. So in the second measure, we're going to start off 3 hammer 4 and then 5th fret with our ring finger. That 3 hammer 4 is a triplet. It's 1 pola 2, middle finger 4th fret of the G string, and then back to 3 5 on the B. So we get 1 pola 2 and 1 pola 2 pola. If you're having trouble playing the hammer-on in time, play it first without it and just go 1 pola, 2 pola, 1 pola, 2 pola, then 1 pola, 2 pola. After that, let that ring. On the offbeat, you're going to play the 3rd fret, and then back to 5 on the 4th beat, nailing that root note. So we get we count it nice and slow. 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and 1 pola, 2 pola, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, add that shuffle. Number 3. We're going to start off 3-4, and I like to slide with my ring finger, index finger to the 7th fret, all triplets. Minor 3rd, major 3rd. That trick again, classic blues sound. 1 pola, 2 pola, 3 pola, 4 pola, 1. You'll hit that 7 2 times so you can land on it on the 1st beat. Pinky 10th fret, back to 7. 1 and 2, 1 and 2, and open. And then 1 and 2 and 3. 3 E and. That 3 happens fast, and then you let it play the open E string after that, finishing on the root, also finishing on the and, noting that you don't have to always finish on a downbeat. The lick doesn't need to finish on a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4. You can finish on an and. So the whole lick, nice and slow, would be 1 pola, 2 pola, 3 pola, 4 pola, 1 and 2, and do. Add our shuffle. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Love it! Moving on to the next lick. We're going to play this entire lick on the E string. And if you think about it, your E arpeggio, it makes sense. You got your root, 4th fret is your 3rd interval, 7th fret's your 5th, 10 is your flat 7, and here you have the octave. So you can go 0, 4, 7, 10, 12, and you have an E7 arpeggio. So what we're going to do is we're going to play the open 2 times, boop, boop, jump up to the 7, and play it open. 1 and 2 and 3, 3rd beat, 10th fret. 1 and 2 and 3, and 4. Up to 12 on the and then back to 10. 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Then we got triplet time. We're going to start off ring finger 12. We're going to go 12, 10, 7. Do, 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 do. And then back to the 10th fret with your ring finger. Do, 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 do. 7, 4. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Alright? After that, you're going to play open, 3, 2. Another triplet, 0, 3, 2. And that was cool because the 3, our 3rd interval, we're not going all the way to our 3rd, but that quarter bend implies the 3rd. So even though it's a flat 3rd, that little bend makes it feel like our G sharp note. Of course, this is the octave, and then we're going to finish open, making the only riff that we finish on the D note, which is a pretty darn dissonant place to finish. So the whole riff, nice and slow. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 pola, 2 sounds very unfinished, right? That's by design. I wanted it to. That's why I finished on the flat 7. Each interval is going to generate a different kind of sense of stability when you finish on it. The root's going to feel the most stable. The flat 7th, the least stable. The 5th is also very stable. And then the 3rd is stable but a little tricky because it's not a very commonly used tone in the blues. So I try not to finish on the 3rd, but it is also stable. Root's the most stable, followed by the 5th, followed by the 3rd, and then you have the semi-stableness of that flat 7. If I played that same lick but finished on the E note, it has a totally different feel. It feels like this. Very different, right? It feels finished. It feels like it doesn't need to move somewhere. Original one with the shuffle. Dissonant but cool. Alright, now this next one is a fingerstyle one. This is a bonus one, and this is probably the weirdest one, but I wanted to throw it in here for, what's the expression? For poops and giggles. It's open E on both the low and high E. We start off pretty similar. And we're going to pluck both open E's, 1 and then fret the 7th fret of both. And then open again with both. 1 and 2 and 3, 10-10, up to 12-12, and back to 10-10. So the first measure is the same, we just doubled down. Literally doubling up with octaves. Then from there, instead of going triplets, we're going to go 12, 10, 7, 10. So do, 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 do. After that 10, back to 7. Then from there, 3 slide 4, and then both open. So the second measure, nice and slow. 1 and 2 and 3, E and 4. Put them both together. Pretty cool, actually. So real quick, I'll play it with rhythm. This is more of a finger picking idea, but why not? It would sound something like this. Pretty cool. If you want to learn more about fingerstyle blues as well, I'll link some videos in the description. Alright, now this last one comes from the caged shape for E. It could be tricky, but it's a good way to practice using the fingering for this shape. We're going to start off ring finger 7th fret of the A string, no biggie, 7, 5, and that's 1 and. But then it's going to be our ring finger that grabs the 6th fret of the D string, 1 and 2 and 3. Third beat, 7th fret, pinky, pinky. 1 and 2 and 3 and right back to them. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4th fret with your index finger, 5th fret with your middle finger, just like we're running through the shape. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The next measure, you'll grab the 4th fret with your index finger, play open, 4, 0. 3 again with your index finger, and then a triplet, 5, 4, 3, do, 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 middle finger, 4th fret of the B string. 1, 2, pola, 3, well, 2, 3, pola, 4. Counting through it nice and slowly. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a tricky one. Let's try it with a shuffle. That's a tricky one, friends. And there you go, folks. That is 6 arpeggios of the E7 chord. Now, you can use these anytime there's an E7 chord. It doesn't just have to be blues. If there's a song that's like E or C, E7, A7, you can solo C major, then E7 arpeggio, and then A7 arpeggio. Anytime you see an E7, you can use this. It's not limited to the blues. The blues are just a great place to get comfortable with the idea. And there you go, folks. New guitar every single Monday. Remember that you can get them tabs by becoming a Patreon or at the website. And until next time, rock and roll. One-on-one lessons if you are interested. Have a lovely day. Catch you next Monday for our next guitar tutorial.